Hey everyone, and welcome. On behalf of Forge College, I'm super excited to have you here for this explainer. So if you were with us for the previous lesson, Foundations of RPC Load Balancing, you know we laid the groundwork for how traffic moves across a network, right? We talked about latency, throughput, and the core principles of distributing heavy Web3 workloads. Well, today, we're taking those abstract concepts and putting them straight to work. We're going to design actual enforceable request distribution policies for Solana RPC traffic. Think of your proxy as the ultimate traffic cop standing in the middle of a totally chaotic intersection. Its job isn't just to point cars in different directions. No, it has to actively enforce the rules of the road, prevent massive multi-car pileups, and make sure everyone gets exactly where they need to go as fast as humanly possible.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our agenda. 1. Introduction to routing rules. 2. Picking the right algorithm. 3. Safety nets and failovers. 4. Managing traffic and capacity. 5. Real-world routing architecture. And 6. Conclusion and next steps.
Section 1. Introduction to routing rules. Building the traffic cop blueprint. So the crucial point here is this specific 4-step sequence. This right here is your foundational step-by-step micromap for designing absolutely any proxy policy. Step 1, you choose your algorithm. Step 2, decide on session affinity, like does a user need to stay glued to one server or can they bounce around? Step 3, add health checks and connection pooling, which act as your operational safety nets. And Step 4, protect the whole system with rate shaping so nobody gets overwhelmed. If you memorize this exact sequence, you can pretty much tame even the wildest, most unpredictable Solana traffic.
Section 2. Picking the right algorithm. Directing the traffic lanes.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we adapt our traffic lanes based on the vehicles actually using them. Because I've got to dispel a myth right now. Algorithm selection is not some one-size-fits-all magic trick. It's a strict matchmaking process between your specific traffic profile and your backend's capabilities. If you have uniform, short RPC calls, think of a swarm of motorcycles zooming by asking for a balance check, you absolutely want round robin. It deals them out evenly, one by one. But if you have long-lived connections, like massive semi-trucks parking for a while, you want least connections to find the server with the most breathing room. And for repeated requests tied to a specific session or key, you use consistent hashing. That basically guarantees the exact same car always goes back to the exact same garage.
Let's talk a bit more about that last one, session affinity, which is also known as sticky routing. You can kind of think of sticky sessions like a delightfully clingy restaurant customer. You know the type. They walk in and demand to be seated in the exact same booth with the exact same waiter every single time. Now, this is awesome for personalized, fast service because the waiter knows their order by heart, boom, high cash hit rate. But it's terrible for the restaurant's operational balance if that specific waiter calls in sick, right? So we really only use session affinity for highly stateful interactions, things like website subscriptions, where starting over with a brand new server would literally mean dropping important real-time blockchain events.
Section 3. Safety nets and failovers, expecting the unexpected.
Because let's face it, out in the wild of Web3, unpredictable backend nodes will just suddenly decide to take a nap and drop right off the network. To prevent routing traffic into a black hole, we use health checks. But they aren't all created equal. On one side, we have liveness checks. These are your short, frequent pulse checks, basically asking, are you breathing? Yes, great. On the other side, we have thorough checks. This is the deep dive MRI, validating specific read or subscription endpoints. The crucial trade-off here is reaction speed versus stability. If your checks are way too sensitive, perfectly good nodes will get temporarily booted just because they blinked, and that causes your traffic to bounce around frantically. You really have to match the depth of the check to the complexity of the node.
Section 4. Managing traffic and capacity. Toll booths and guardrails.
So far, we've organized the traffic, but we actually haven't protected the destination. Connection pools act as the system limiting the total number of cars allowed on the road, while rate shaping acts as the toll booths. When it comes to those toll booths, you generally have two flavors. Fixed window rate shaping is super rigid. It basically says, you get 100 requests this minute, you hit 101, boom, rejected, come back next minute. Token bucket rate shaping, on the other hand, is way more elegant. Think of the token bucket as an experienced, highly professional club bouncer. As long as you have tokens or credits, you get in smoothly. It allows for sudden, temporary bursts of Web2 integration traffic to pass through, but if the crowd gets too wild, the bouncer gently smooths out the line, keeping the back-end servers perfectly safe from a total stampede.
And when you're setting up those connection pools, remember this 100% unbreakable rule. You must size your connection pools based strictly on what your backend server CPU and concurrency capacity can actually handle. Do not size it based on how many clients are knocking on the front door. I mean, if 1,000 people show up to a restaurant that only has 100 chairs, you don't magically build 900 more chairs out of thin air, right? The kitchen would literally catch on fire. You limit the pool to 100, and you make the others wait in the queue.
Section 5. Real-world routing architecture, meeting the nodes.
Let's move to and see how this builds a highly practical proxy configuration scenario. We're managing a heterogeneous mixed bag cast of 3 backend servers. Number 1 is our auto-scaling public provider. Think of this as our high-energy overachiever, great for high burst throughput. Number 2 is our privately managed node. This is the reliable local hero, super low latency local caching, but it does have its limits. And number 3 is our legacy node. This is the grumpy grandpa of the network. He doesn't want to be bothered by massive concurrency, but he possesses very specialized RPC extensions that nobody else has.
So how do we route traffic to this quirky trio? Well, we split it up by route. Route 1 is for our short read queries, high-volume, stateless requests like checking balances. For this, we use a weighted round robin paired with our smooth bouncer, the token bucket rate shaper. We give the heaviest weight to the high-energy overachiever to keep it busy, but we also trickle just enough traffic to the reliable local hero to ensure its cache stays warm and fast. Grumpy Grandpa? Yeah, he gets left completely alone for these basic tasks.
But what about Route 2, our WebSocket subscriptions? These are long-lived real-time updates. If a connection breaks, we lose that fragile state. For this route, we use consistent hashing, session-affinity, and graceful failover. We take a client fingerprint or a session identifier, and we mathematically bind that user to a specific node so their subscription isn't interrupted. And if a node does get sick, our graceful failover steps in, safely draining the connection and signaling the client to reconnect without dropping a massive backlog of notifications.
Section 6. Conclusion and next steps. Wrapping up the blueprint.
And this brilliantly illustrates our core principles, the absolute key takeaways that should drive every single proxy configuration script you write, because decomposing your policies per route keeps your web-scale RPC traffic highly predictable. So takeaway 1, match your algorithm strictly to the traffic semantics. 2, always protect your backends with health checks and connection pools sized to their capacity. 3, restrict session affinity only to interactions that genuinely benefit from it, like WebSockets. And 4, design your policies per route, never as a one-size-fits-all global rule.
Now, as you take this blueprint and prepare to deploy it, I want to leave you with a provocative question. How do provider-specific features from platforms like Helios and Triton completely change these routing rules we just designed? Well, that's exactly what we'll be covering in our next lesson on provider integration. On behalf of Forge College, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. To dive deeper into this subject, explore more courses, and continue your Web3 education, be sure to visit us at forge.college. Keep building, keep routing, and I'll catch you in the next one.